name is Mirarchi, and I am your Troup County Extension Coordinator. Today we are here at Active Life around their beautiful raised bed and composting area. And we are going to actually talk about how you can compost in your own backyard today. Now, we figure that this is a great activity for you to start if you haven't already, since a lot of us are spending time at home right now, and composting is done with things that you find right around the house. So let's talk a little bit about what compost is first. Compost is just organic material that you can add to your soil to help your plants grow. You can create this compost in a bin, or you can create a pile in your backyard, and either way you will eventually end up with dense, rich, soil-like substance that is high in nutrients and does nothing but help out your plants. There's many benefits to composting, not the least of which is enriching your soil. You can also reduce your use of chemical fertilizers and even lower your carbon footprint. But first, we need to talk a little bit about the components of compost. Alright, so the components that we want to remember about composting are your greens and your browns. Okay, so I have an example of greens right here. Greens are going to be your protein and nitrogen rich materials. This is also going to create heat in the compost pile as it begins to decompose, and this is going to be things like food scraps. Then your browns are going to be carbohydrate rich materials. Things like dried leaves, twigs, corn stalks, and even sawdust would be considered your browns. And we'll talk about the ratio of the mix of those things. Once we combine those together, turn them, add some water, after several weeks you will eventually end up with fresh, rich, nutrient-filled compost, which is the important organic part that you're going to want to add to your soil. Now for a demonstration of how we can mix our compost. I mentioned our greens. These are a lot of times going to be food scraps, coffee grounds, even lawn trimmings. However, there's a couple of things to note. You don't want to use food scraps that include meat, dairy products, or oils and fat. Those things can give off an odor, they're slow to break down, and they can attract all kinds of vermin and pests that you don't want around your compost pile. If you are going to include lawn trimmings as well, make sure you don't have a heavy pesticide application on your lawn. Those chemicals, those herbicides and things have no place in your compost. So those are just a couple of things to keep in mind when it comes to your greens. Alright, but there's going to be a ratio, 1 part green to 3 part brown, and remember our browns are going to be your dried leaves, corn stalks, sawdust, broken twigs, and things like that. And then you need to add a little bit of water. Now, you don't want to have a soggy compost bin. Whether you have it in a plastic container or a pile in your backyard, you do need moisture. However, you don't want to just soak it down so it's sitting in a puddle. So I'm going to use a super scientific measuring spoon here at my hand, and I'm going to take 1 part green, alright, put it in here, to 3 parts brown. And this is a ratio that you would utilize when you are making your compost. Then I would add a little bit of water to moisten it down. And the 4th component is air. You need to do what we call turning your compost once a week or so. This allows the decomposition process to continue. Now, if you have a big pile of compost, something like a pitchfork might be helpful for you to be able to turn your compost. But all you're really doing is just mixing it together, all right? Wanting to moisten it every now and then, make sure that it's not soggy, but that it does remain moist. And guys, within 2 to 4 weeks, you can have beautiful, rich compost as your result. This is what you're looking for. This dark, rich humus. That is a result, actually, of combining this food scraps, your greens, as well as your browns. Now here's an additional tip for you guys. After you have mixed the 1 to 3 ratio, 1 part green to 3 parts brown, added your water, you've been turning it for a little while. Once you've started building up compost, you can take some of your well-formed compost and mix it or even layer it in to the developing compost to help continue that nutrient-rich cycle. So guys, I hope you have learned a little bit of something today about how you can utilize those food scraps, the dried leaves around your house, to create a nutrient-rich amendment for your soil in the form of compost. Now have a great day and get to composting.